as we continue with this WNBA CBA nonsense. Now, if you guys remember yesterday, the WNBA let it be known that they have received enough votes to issue a strike and stop this 2026 season from happening and start a work stoppage and, completely ruin all of the momentum that Caitlin Clark has brought to this league pretty much single-handedly. And then the WNBA owners sent a response to, we need to compromise. We need to compromise and we need to play basketball. That is what Caitlin Clark said. We need to play in some damn games and we need the 2026 WNBA season to happen. That is what the fans want. That is what the people want. And that is how we make the money. We need to be playing basketball. Compromise and get it done.
The WNBA just made a decision that could blow everything up. Caitlin Clark helped build this moment, and now it's all hanging by a thread. 98% of players voted yes on a strike, but 3 players voted no, and that small group is what has everyone talking.
To give an authorization for the WNBA PA to start a strike. There was some players who did not vote at all, and there's 3 players that said no. And many people believe one of the 3 players that said no was Caitlin Clark, due to what Caitlin Clark said when she got interviewed at Team USA camp, where she said, yes, we need to fight for things we want, but ultimately, we need to compromise. We need to compromise and we need to play basketball. That is what
Online, people are connecting the dots and wondering if Caitlin Clark is one of those 3. This is no longer just about contracts or money. It's about whether the league is willing to risk its first true mainstream superstar to push a hard line. Owners are calling the players dishonest. Players are threatening to shut the league down. And in the middle of all this noise, Caitlin Clark looks like the only one thinking long-term. Here's what's really going on, because the headlines leave out the details. The WNBA Players Association says it has enough votes to authorize a strike. That means the entire 2026 season could disappear. No games, no playoffs, and no Caitlin Clark driving record-breaking ratings, nothing but an empty calendar. The voting details matter. While 98% voted yes, 3 players voted no, and several players didn't vote at all. That alone tells you this isn't as unified as it sounds. If you've listened closely to Caitlin Clark lately, her stance doesn't match the loudest voices in the room. At Team USA camp, she made it clear that players should fight for what they want, but still find a middle ground and keep playing basketball. That mindset clashes hard with what Kelsey Plum, Breanna Stewart, and Nafisa Collier have been pushing publicly. They're on one path, and Caitlin Clark appears to be on another, and that split could decide the future of the league. Everyone else is talking tough, saying they refuse to back down, saying this is their moment to take everything they believe they're owed. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is sitting there thinking about the simple reality that there still needs to be an actual season for any of this to matter. Then the WNBA tried to calm things down and present a united front, acting like everyone is aligned and moving together. That image doesn't hold up.
And then Nafisa Collier tried to make it seem like they were all on the same page, and she lied because Caitlin Clark clearly is not on the same page as them. So many people believe that one of the 3 people that voted no against the WNBA, giving them the power to authorize a strike, one of those people was Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark is clearly not following the same script, and that leads to the question nobody wants to answer directly. Was Caitlin Clark one of the 3 players who voted no? Officially, there's no confirmation, but online speculation is running wild, and based on her recent comments and behavior, the theory lines up. She's the one person in the league who fully understands what's on the line. Ratings are up because of her. Sponsors are showing up because of her. National media finally cares because of her. The league has real momentum for the first time, and the union leadership is willing to put all of that at risk by pushing toward a shutdown. Now look at what the owners are actually offering, because this is where the conversation changes. Reports say the WNBA proposal includes uncapped revenue sharing. Maximum salaries would rise from $249,000 to more than $1.3 million. That's a massive jump. average salaries would climb from $120,000 to over $530,000. Minimum salaries would increase from $66,000 to more than $250,000 in the first year alone, with steady growth baked into the deal. Long-term projections show average salaries hitting around $770,000 and max contracts nearing $2 million. Those numbers matter, and they don't look like a low-effort offer by any stretch.
Are a bit in their infancy. According to a source, the WNBA's latest proposal includes an uncapped revenue sharing model that would raise maximum salaries above $1.3 million, up from $249,000 in 2025, and growing to nearly $2 million over the life of the deal. Average salaries above $530,000, up from $120,000 in 2025, and growing to more than $770,000 over the life of the deal, and minimum salaries to an excess of over
The pay increases are massive across the board, but somehow it's still not enough. The union is pushing for 30% of gross revenue, and the owners shut that down fast. That's where union president Nika Ogwumike steps in and tries to cool things off publicly. She went on ESPN and explained that even with strike authorization approved, players still want to play next season. On the surface, that sounds calm and reasonable. Then she added that negotiations are still in their infancy, and that's where things stop making sense. We're almost at Christmas. The original deadline was October 31st. That deadline got extended to January 9th, and after all that time, talks are supposedly still just getting started. That raises a serious question about what has actually been happening behind closed doors for the past 2 months.
WNBA owners sent a response to them, calling them liars, saying you guys are not being honest with the public about the state of these negotiations. They have been fair and legitimate quality offers that have been made in good faith. You guys are liars. Now, we know it was 98% of WNBA players that said yes, but there was some players who did not vote at all, and there were some players who said no. And we know Caitlin Clark stood on the...
From the ownership side, they believe they've been negotiating fairly the entire time. The league released a statement saying the union's public framing has been misleading. They claim strong offers were put on the table and that the full story isn't being told to fans. That's not subtle at all. That's a direct challenge to the union's credibility. Now everyone is stuck trying to figure out who's being straight and who's stretching the truth. Are the owners offering historic raises while the union keeps pushing the line further? Or are players fighting for long-term value while ownership plays defense? From the outside, both sides look locked in, refusing to give an inch. But there's one angle almost nobody is talking about yet, and it's the part of this mess that could hit the hardest once the dust settles. The real issue sitting under all of this is momentum. The WNBA finally has it, and Caitlin Clark is the driving force behind it. She brought millions of new viewers into a league that spent years struggling to fill seats and break into everyday sports conversations. This season changed that. Arenas started selling out. National shows started talking about the league without being prompted. Casual fans tuned in for the first time and stayed longer than anyone expected. Corporate sponsors noticed. Television partners noticed. Media coverage shifted from polite check-ins to real analysis and debate. This was the kind of attention the league has been chasing since its early years, and it didn't come from marketing slogans or press releases. It came from one player changing the way people watch the game. Moments like this are fragile. Sports history shows how quickly they can disappear. A work stoppage is the fastest way to cool off a hot product. Baseball learned that lesson in 1994 when fans walked away and never fully returned. Hockey learned it again in 2004. Those leagues were already established and still paid the price. The WNBA does not have that cushion. The league just earned the interest of casual fans. And casual fans are not loyal by default. They don't follow labor updates or negotiation timelines. They show up when games are on and drift away when they are not. Caitlin Clark pulled in viewers who had never watched women's basketball before. If those people are met with a canceled season, they won't wait around. They will find something else to watch and move on without a second thought. That is the reality Caitlin Clark appears to understand. This league is not the NBA, where interest survives lockouts and pauses. The WNBA is still building its foundation. Every season matters. Every game matters. Playing brinkmanship with momentum is a dangerous move when the base is still forming. Instead of focusing on growth, exposure, and strengthening the league's place in the sports landscape, the conversation has shifted towards strike threats and shutdown scenarios. The union authorized its strongest leverage, then tried to reassure everyone that it did not want to use it. That mixed message lands poorly with fans who are new and undecided. Nneka Ogwumike described the vote as a show of unity and confidence, framing it as a step toward fair value. From a negotiation standpoint, that makes sense. From a business and growth standpoint, it introduces serious risk. Value is not static. It depends on visibility, relevance, and continuity. A lost season damages all three. Momentum is not something you can pause and restart on command. Once attention drifts, it takes years to rebuild trust and interest. The WNBA finally has a lane into the mainstream, and that lane stays open only if games are played and stars are visible. This moment is bigger than leverage or messaging. It is about protecting the progress that was finally earned. The danger is not just losing a season. The danger is losing the belief that this league is moving forward at the exact moment people started to care. What happens when casual fans stop paying attention? What happens when TV networks start second-guessing those deals? The union is acting like it holds all the leverage, but that assumption deserves a closer look. The owners can afford patience. Many of them have carried this league financially for decades, and most are billionaires with NBA teams and other revenue streams. For them, the WNBA is a long-term investment and a passion project. For the players, this is their livelihood. This is their prime earning window, and that window is shorter than many realize. Caitlin Clark understands that reality better than most. At 22 years old, she is already the most marketable player the league has ever seen. She could likely earn more from endorsements than from her WNBA contract, yet she still wants to be on the court. She wants the league to grow because she knows growth helps everyone involved. When the WNBA becomes must-watch television, players win, owners win, sponsors win, and fans stay engaged. But if a season disappears and momentum fades, there is no guarantee it comes back a decade from now. Years down the line, people will look back at this moment and wonder how it was mishandled. Everything was aligned. The league had a true superstar, rising attention, stronger sponsorship interest, and real money starting to flow in. Then it all got put at risk because of a labor fight. 3 players saw the danger early and voted no. It is impossible to confirm who they were, but the logic points toward Caitlin Clark being one of them, simply because she appears to grasp what is truly on the line. While others are focused on securing their share right now, she seems focused on making sure there is still something worth sharing later. The next deadline is January 9th, and it is approaching fast. Either a deal gets done or this situation spirals into something much bigger and far more damaging. A lost season would not just be a setback. It would reinforce every doubt critics have raised about sustainability and long-term growth. It would waste the strongest opportunity women's basketball has ever had. If that outcome happens, it will not be about fair pay or revenue formulas. It will come down to ego and short-sighted decision-making. It would reflect a union that failed to see the bigger picture and a league that stumbled at the exact moment it needed to be steady. Caitlin Clark pushed for compromise and for keeping basketball on the floor, while the overwhelming majority chose to escalate pressure instead. That choice now defines the moment. The league is standing on the edge of either its most important season ever or its most damaging mistake. January 9th will answer that question. The real issue is not whether enough money is being offered. The real issue is whether the WNBA values its future more than pride. 3 players voted no. Everyone else voted to risk everything. History will remember where people stood when it mattered, and Caitlin Clark looks like someone who understood the stakes before it was too late. Now the situation is set to get more complicated before it gets resolved. When it finally settles, one side will look calculated, and the other will be left explaining how momentum slipped away at the worst possible time. This is the moment everything gets decided, not next season, not 5 years from now, but right now. The WNBA is standing at a crossroads, and one choice builds something lasting while the other risks tearing it all down. This was supposed to be the league's breakthrough era. The arena is filling up, The ratings climbing, the casual fans finally paying attention. Caitlin Clark helped unlock all of that, and moments like this don't come twice. If this window closes, there is no rewind button. January 9th isn't just a deadline on a calendar, it's a test of vision, leadership, and long-term thinking. Do you protect momentum, or do you gamble it away trying to win a standoff? That's the real fight happening behind closed doors. Years from now, people won't argue over percentages or proposals. They'll ask one simple question: why didn't they protect the moment when they had it? And when the history of this saga gets written, the names, the votes, and the decisions will all come out. Nothing stays hidden forever. That's why stories like this don't end quietly. They end with receipts. If you want the updates they don't put in press releases, the leaks they don't want circulating, and the real power moves happening behind the scenes, you already know where to be. Follow Courtside Leaks and stay locked in, because this story is far from over. We've got every angle covered, every leak, every backstage twist, every moment they won't show you. Hit like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share this video. Stay locked in with Courtside Leaks, your home for the truth behind the WNBA headlines.